Welcome everybody. Baruch Hashem, we're here at another Lifsins event. I want to give a big shout out to everyone who took over when I was on maternity leave. So thank you. Cutting up, cleaning up, buying the snacks. You guys are incredible. A big thank you to Rachel for all of her hard work. Tonight is a very special night. Tonight is the beginning of the Kinus Hashluchos. And it is also when we're celebrating the week of the celebration of the Siyum Rambam. So I want to make a big shout out to the fact that there was a Siyum Rambam that we were part of this past Sunday online. You can watch the recording to the Women's Siyum Rambam. And a huge shout out to everybody who learns Rambam, whichever track you learn, whether it's Sefer Mitzvahs, 1 parak, 3 prakim. And there's a whole pe'ula now to add in your learning of Siyum Rambam, especially in the time now when you can start and get going with the rest of the group. So when we were discussing this event, we actually planned it way before there was a published, flyer about the Siyum Rambam in Crown Heights, and we spoke to the Livingston Mashpia, and she said that we should Maisiv in Kedusha, and we should make this as well a Farbrengen and the Siyum Rambam. So that's why we're here tonight celebrating together. We have the most amazing shluchos of having Mrs. Haya Uzan. Yes.
There is a raffle for a Ramadan for those who take on a chlata in Sefer Mitzvahs or Rambam from now until Yud Al Nisan. And we made an extension. You can still join today by catching up yesterday and today. So
wow.
Check out that.
Yes.
So beautiful.
So that is very special. Wow. So our speaker tonight, our first speaker tonight is Mrs. Haya Uzan. She was, did I say that correctly? How do you say it?
Yeah, Uzan.
Okay, perfect.
I mean, it's my husband's name, so right. I mean, it's my name, but I mean,
yes,
you can say it however you want.
I
don't think he minds.
She was born and raised on Shluchos in the north of France, and now she is a shlucha in Abuja, Nigeria. Did I say that one correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
And we've had the great shluchos of knowing about all the Abuja shluchos because one of our members actually spent 4 months, 6 months.
I don't know.
A lot of months.
Oh, yeah. I was
our dear friend Ariella, she was at the time. Now she's a woman, and she spent.
Yeah, she was here my first year of the preschool. Yeah.
Yes.
She saved me, like when I was like all alone doing my preschool, like learning how to do everything by myself. And then she came with another girl that didn't know each other, and it worked out perfectly. And it was a beautiful time. I have so many nice souvenirs.
Yeah.
This.
I love that. So we missed her, but we were glad that she was there helping you.
She was.
And I'll pass.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Good evening. Welcome. Again, I'm so happy, by the way, to tell you the truth. Usually when I come to the Kinus, I usually go, I enjoy like a good restaurant. I go visit my family. Sometimes I speak here and there to some groups. Sometimes when they ask me when I had a baby, like with me, I was like, it's going to be hard. It's late at night, whatever. But I'm happy this year. I didn't come with a baby. I still miss them, but I'm able to come and join you for a little talk. I'm so happy to meet so many wonderful women I'm sure everybody is doing amazing things there. So how she said that I'm originally from France. You can hear my accent. Okay. My parents are in shlichus in north of France, in a city called Lille. I don't know if anybody here heard about it. I don't know if anybody was in France. Yeah? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Paris, Eiffel Tower, Tour Eiffel. Strasbourg, nice. So my mother-in-law is from Strasbourg. Funny. Oh, wow. Nice. Where?
In Nice.
Wow. Okay. Nice. So nice. So Nice is in the south, and I'm from the north. And so my parents moved there about 40 years ago. And when we were ready to go to school, there was no Jewish school. And at that time, there was no online school. So my parents sent us to Paris, and we were staying by my grandparents for the week. And we came home for Shabbos. And so I grew up like that, and I mean, everybody in the family, has different, I'm sure, like way of like taking these trips. We were going every week back from Paris to Lille, whatever. But I always felt very proud to be like the shlucha in Lille, and I was used to tell my friends all about it and what we do, the activities we do. I don't know. I used to love. I'm not saying it was not hard being away from the parents, but it was still something that when I went out with my husband, one of the things that was important for me was to move on shlichus. And it was also, he grew up in a house that they were also on shlichus, and he also wanted to move somewhere on shlichus. He didn't know we're going to end up in Nigeria. But he was also, like, as a bachur, going to Nigeria, to Africa for the Chagim, for the holidays, the Jewish holidays, to help the community. And so this is how we went the first time to Nigeria in 2010 after we got married for Pesach, the first time in Lagos, which is another city. And like that, we went for the Chagim. And the first times I wasn't sure, but I didn't think I would move there because the culture is very different. And, I was ready to go on shlichus, but maybe not all the way to Africa. But then, you go one time, two times, and then I really loved it. And we say, we're going to move. So Baruch Hashem, in 2013, yes, when my second daughter, my second kid was born, we moved to Abuja, which is like a big city in Nigeria. And since then, we're there. So, usually people ask me, so how do you live? Like, how is Africa? Okay, it's very different. We don't have running water. We don't have electricity all the time. But, it's funny because it's part of our life, It's when people come to visit us and they say, why, you don't have it? Like, what, there's there's no light now? And I'm like, no. And I realize, okay, it's not normal. Like, you should have light usually. So we have generators. We have two generators. When one stops, we have another one. We're very organized now, but yes, sometimes there is no light. Sometimes there is no water. We have a truck of water coming and filling big tanks of water. And sometimes they're, emptying and you don't realize, and you go to the shower and there's no water, and then you shower with bags of water. It's part of life. It's really fun, actually. The kids love it. It's like, yeah, there's no water. Where are the bags? We're gonna play with them. We're gonna.
The Baal Shem Tov's, the light icicles.
What's icicle?
Ice on the roof.
Okay, yeah.
And he used to love light.
Mm-hmm.
And one day they didn't have enough candles, so
Yeah.
Baal Shem Tov said to his Talmidim, go and get the icicles, and they were able to light them.
Okay.
Karfonim.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I didn't know this story.
So,
Thank
but
you.
you don't have karfonim over here.
Yeah,
It's hot, right?
it's hot. I was gonna say no ice, no snow. My kids were really excited to see the snow. They were like, "Oh my God, there is gonna be the snow!" Today they were walking, my two girls, and they're like, "Okay, we don't like the snow anymore. That's it." It's like when you go out of a car and you're in front of the snow, and then you have to climb. Anyway, so yeah, Nigeria is really different, but Baruch Hashem, it's Baruch Hashem, I love it. Our day to day is really unpredictable and really different. We have different things happening all the time, so it's not like one day is the same all the time. When we moved to Nigeria, so the first time we moved to Abuja, we didn't have a house yet, so we were living in an Israeli company. So let me tell you, the community in Nigeria is mostly Israelis that come to work as engineers. They do agriculture, construction, different types of things like that. It's not really, some are businessmen that come and go, but most of the people are really people that come for a few years. They have projects of building a road, making a city in some remote places in Nigeria, and then they go back to Israel. So we had people in our community over the years that came for 2 years, 5 years, and then they go. So my kids have some friends, and then they leave, and then you have to make friends again, and then they leave, and so that's a big challenge in Nigeria. And so the first time we moved, we didn't have a house, we didn't have nothing. So an Israeli company hosted us in an apartment, and we were there for a few months, and we were looking for a house. and we visited something that seemed okay. And the thing is, in Nigeria, you have to pay for the rent 2 years in advance. So we were like, okay, we're gonna take out then it's expensive. Okay, Nigeria, people think, oh, Africa, everything is cheap. No, it's not. So people that rent normal houses that have like some kind of light and water cost money. So the rent is expensive, to buy is expensive, everything is expensive. So we were like, how are we gonna pay? How are we gonna do? And my husband was trying to contact different people that worked in Nigeria, if you can help us, or this is our budget for the year, how much percentage you can help us. So fundraising like that, and also when you're starting, you don't have anything to prove, like, okay, where are you? So it's really hard at first. And we had one man that used to come to Nigeria for some business. And my husband called him and he said, from Toronto, from Canada. And he called him and he said, look, I have to sign for the rent for 2 years, but I don't know how to do it. Would you mind, or would you be happy to help us? I don't know the wording. And the man was really nice. And he said, listen, I'm waiting for some projects. As soon as I'm signing them, I'm going to be helping you. Okay, we're waiting, and we see like nothing is happening. And we traveled to New York I think it was for the Kinus Hashluchos, or shlucha, I can't remember exactly the date, but we came together as a couple. I had 2 kids at that time, so we came, and we went to the OL, and we were, just before the OL, my husband called the man from Toronto, and he said, oh, look, I'm around, can I come and see you? Around New York, Toronto is around compared to Nigeria. So he didn't tell him where. So the guy is like, yeah, come tomorrow to my office. My husband booked the first ticket, went to Toronto, went to the office. He's waiting patiently in the waiting room. And the secretary is like, oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Chazansky will not be able to see you. He has another meeting. And my husband is like, oh, I have another flight in 2 hours, going back to New York. So if I can see him just for a few minutes. So anyways, he meets with him and he tells him, listen, we're waiting to rent. Like, I want to start the shlichus. I really want to start something, but like, I'm stuck and you promised something. So the guy is really, he was like, first of all, I was really surprised that my husband came to see him. But also he was like, okay, listen, you're going back to New York, go to the OL and pray for me. This is my name. This is my family name, whatever. Pray for my business. So we went we went together to the OL. And so we brought a pan and we went to pray. My husband was doing the manilashon for a few hours, I don't know. So I went out with the kids and I sat down with the screen, the video screen at the entrance. And I'm waiting patiently there. And I love to see the Rebbe's videos. And there is a video of Farbrengen that the Rebbe is speaking. And then it stops, like, or singing, and it stopped. And there's a shliach coming over to the Rebbe with someone of his community, and he's saying, hi, Rebbe, this is Mr. I don't know, from my Chabad house, and he's going to help us with $500,000 for our new school, our new project. And the Rebbe is like giving him blessings, and the guy, so the sponsors, stops and says, no, it was not $500,000, it's $250,000. So the Rebbe is like, you see what you have now and you see how much you can give. But when you do a tzedakah, it's huge fat. It's a Farbrengen huge fat. I can't remember the year, but you can find it online. It's called the pledge or the donation first, like something, or the blessing. I have to find it. Anyways, it tells you when you do a tzedakah, you make a contract with God. You make something with God, and He's going to follow you. So now you're thinking, okay, I can only give $250,000, but in Meretz Hashem, you will be able to give much more and you will be blessed, whatever. So there was a story. I see this. My husband comes out of the oil and I tell my husband, I think we should send this video to the guy in Toronto, to David Chazansky. I think that's his blessing. And we sent him the video. I mean, we went to, at that time, there was not like everything on the phones. It was not such a long time ago, but still now. And so we went to the Rebbe's, to the OL's office, and we asked for the, for the video, whatever. And then we sent him, and it was like, okay, you're going back to Nigeria. I'm going to help you. He helped us, and Baruch Hashem, he had many more projects. Since then, he's paying for our rent. Since then, So it's more than 10 years ago. So you can imagine, Baruch Hashem, a very nice tzaddik, and Baruch Hashem, he helped many other shluchim also. So Baruch Hashem. That was like one crazy story that we saw the Rebbe's hand. Like, it's actually, this story is printed in a book that's the Rebbe's, can't out of my head, but it's a book that a lot of shlichus. Yeah, I think the Rebbe will find a way, something. There is another. Or I think the Rebbe will find a way. I will check. Anyway, so that was like a big wow. Okay, and also, by the way, I always told my husband, when my parents went on shlichus, they wrote to the Rebbe different places. They didn't get a bracha, and then when they wrote Lil, they got a bracha. And we were always like, okay, maybe it's not for us. Maybe we're not supposed to go to Nigeria. How are we supposed to know it's the right choice? Because at first, our parents were not like, oh my God, wow, it's so amazing you're going to Nigeria. They were worried for us. Like, it's so far away. It's so far. I mean, we didn't have WhatsApp at that time. Now you can call, like, 2010, we didn't have WhatsApp. It's not such a long time ago. And they wanted, like, probably my parents wanted us to stay to help them, and his parents also. So, at first, so that was like a sign for me and my husband, like, okay, we're good, we're in good hands, we're going for it. After that, Baruch Hashem, we started our events in the community. We had some classes and some Hebrew school, and we had a lot of children in Nigeria at that time. A lot of Israeli families were working in Nigeria, and it was really nice. And then I had my third child, and it was a baby, and I was like, okay, there's some babies in the community, let me do like a mommy and me kind of thing in my house. So we started like that once a week. It was so cute. And then the mothers were like, okay, can you open a preschool? That would be amazing for them to learn about Aleph Bet and stuff. So I opened the preschool. And it was really amazing. And like, looking back, sometimes I'm like, how did I do? I didn't know anything about opening a preschool, and I just did it. And I started, like, we had like 8 kids registered, and that year we had like so many families coming to Nigeria. At the end of the year, we were 16 children in the preschool. Not anymore. Don't get too excited. So they work there for like projects, like construction projects, agriculture, like security, like big stuff, like with the government sometimes, and like roads, construction, not like building a house, like really roads, cities, like stuff like that. They do like piping for the water. They do electricity. They do a lot of things. Infrastructure, yeah. How you say it? Same word in French. Infrastructure. So I forgot where I was up to. What I was gonna say? The preschool, yeah. So you were talking about Ariela. So that year I was doing, I didn't have anything. I had my 3 children. Whatever, I didn't know what's a routine in the preschool. I didn't know, so I had to learn everything. And then in February, when I came back from the Kinus, I told my husband, I have to get 2 girls to come help me, because I can't do everything myself. It was like intense. And we were starting the project of the first mikveh. So the mikveh, we were starting the project. We were starting the plans and the stuff. So Baruch Hashem, I had the miracle. I found girls. They moved. They came. They were living in my house, and they helped me so much with the preschool. You guys can come. There's space here. It's here.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry?
For figuring it out. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. No, if you want to see. Or you can take the chair if you're scared of me. Nigeria?
How far is Nigeria?
So it's supposed to be a 6-hour flight, which is not so far. But we don't have direct flights all the time. So sometimes even the Air France, so it's like we have a Monday flight and a Wednesday flight, let's say. So it stops in Togo, which is another country in Africa. Then you stay in the plane. There's people coming out, new people coming in, and then you continue. So it's like, a longer stretch.
In the world that does that.
Oh, in Africa, there is a few countries that do it, yeah.
Like your plane stops for the flight.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
So
Really?
No, but that's
Really?
Used to it.
You don't come out of the plane. You don't come out of the plane. You did it before?
Like what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
Where? In US? Wow, this is insane. Okay. Yeah, okay. Wow. Okay, so then our first project, we wanted to be like the mikveh, it's like really important to have a mikveh in a city where you don't have one. So my husband fundraised and we started with a project we had like an architect from France and we were doing like calls to do the meetings and stuff to do the plan. And we built the first mikveh, Baruch Hashem. And that was almost 10 years ago, 9 years ago. And actually we opened it, 9 years ago. And then almost 2 years ago, we got a call from the app. So to be able to build a mikveh, you need a land. And we were looking for a land to buy and we couldn't find any land. So an Israeli guy told us, listen, I have a land that I'm not using right now. You can build in the site, like let's say it's this room. So let's say here, you can build the mikveh here, and then in a few years, let's see what's gonna happen. If I don't need, if you have the money to buy it. Anyways, so we built. Anyways, Baruch Hashem, we opened 9 years ago, and then 2 years ago, he calls us. Listen, the land, the new president, now they want to take back the land. They are not developed. So I have to sell the project to a company that will build something on the land, but don't worry. The mikveh will stay intact. Nobody's going to touch it. And we're like, Baruch Hashem, everything is fine. Anyways, it's a mikveh. It's a holy place. Like, who is going to come? And we were very like sure nothing will happen. But then we got another call that's it. The project is they're going to start building. They don't want our mikveh on the land. We have to remove it. So to make it just short, the mikveh, we had to move it. I mean, we just got destroyed. We just removed whatever we could from inside, but it got destroyed. And we were like, oh my God, and people were like, don't worry, the next one will be even better. So for like a year and a half, we were looking for a land and we're like, okay, maybe it's a sign from Hashem. We have to find a land. Like we have to have our own property and actually build something on our own property because until now we're renting. And we were looking and looking every day. We went to see a few lands and this one is for sale and this one has a problem and this one is another owners has it before and this one doesn't have papers and it's a big balagan to get a land in Nigeria. In case you want to move and buy something, just know. Just know in advance also that's crazy. And we were like desperate. And every time we had like some kind of hope, okay, this one is going to be amazing. And my husband wanted something big and let's just take something small. And I was doing list, okay, the pros of getting something small just for the mikveh, the pros of getting something big and building, and the pros of like everything was about, and there was like so much weight on us. And one day I told my husband, we were like renting in a place. We moved like a few years ago to another place where we have Baruch Hashem build a shul and then the preschool and then the makolet, the store, little kosher store. And then I was like looking at our place and I told my husband, why don't we build here, the mikveh? Okay, maybe it's not going to be I hope it's going to be for a long time, but because we have the project to buy this land and hopefully Hashem will help us on that the guy is going to agree to sell the land, but it's on a good way, Imat Hashem. So I'm like, you know what? We built the shul 5 years ago and it's still here. Baruch Hashem, we're still here. So let's just do the mikveh. Let's do something, whatever. My husband was like, okay, great. Good idea. The next day, people were like already digging and whatever. And we opened the mikveh in December. We have a new mikveh in Nigeria, which is also very beautiful. And it's really, Baruch Hashem, my husband is in charge of he's the one rushing things. Okay, before we change our minds, but Baruch Hashem, it's beautiful. So yeah, really happy about it. So that's life in Nigeria. And, people ask me also how your kids go to school. So they have online school now, Baruch Hashem. Online school. So they are on the Hebrew division, which is Batsheva.
Your kids, you mean?
Yeah, my kids. I have 8 children. So the first one is already in yeshiva in France. Hashem is turning 15 soon. And then the remaining ones, so 4 of them are on online school. So that we have in the shul, we have a special place where they have their own place, office with their stuff and the computers. And so every morning they go there and they connect, whatever. And then we have Baruch Hashem, the preschool. And the preschool, so we had a lot of Israeli families. Now, over the years, they started leaving after COVID and after the new president, some left again. So now the preschool is only my 3 little children, but it's still running as if there's like 10, 20 children in the preschool. And I bring someone to help, like girls on shlichus. Now we have a couple that came to help us. So it's Baruch Hashem, we have like women's program and we have a kosher store. So it's every day is different. Every day is amazing. I love it. And I don't know if you have any questions to ask about Nigeria. Yes.
What's the political situation? You said something about a new ruler.
No. So there's president. It's a country with corruption, a lot of corruption. So this is when they stop us on the road, like the police or whatever, for checkup. You said checkup points, whatever. They usually ask, "What's for me? What is it?" I don't know if I'm supposed to say it on camera, but I beg, madam, what do you have for me now? So when we come back from Iftaim from Hanukkah, we give them the donuts. We try not to give them money because if not, they stop you all the time. But it's a country like that rules just on corruption and which is crazy. Yeah. I was saying that there's no running water, there's no electricity, but it's okay.
Country?
Sorry, the entire country. What did you say? I didn't hear.
Where is there no water?
In Nigeria.
In the entire country?
Yeah, I mean, we have like a big tank. We have a truck coming. That fills the tank. There is sometimes the water from the city that comes. It's like dropping, like these past few months.
What is that like?
We buy water. We buy bottles of water. They have like they sell like normal water. It's funny because it's like such a like third world country, but also there's so much like, let's say they import a lot of stuff. So we have in the stores, in the supermarkets, we have a lot of stuff that are imported and with the kosher sign. So it's like really exciting, And there are like Nigeria is actually a very, from all the African countries, apparently it's the highest economical country, like the best economy of Africa, something like that, which I'm really proud of. We're contributing to the, and we bring meat from South Africa, which is, sorry, I don't know, it's calling. We bring meat from South Africa, which is 6 hours flight. We don't have a direct flight, but we send it to Lagos and then we bring it, which is amazing because now we bring it for the Makolet. And even Jews that don't usually eat kosher food, they come for the meat because in Nigeria it's hard to get good meat and the South African meat is really good. So they come to the Makolet for the meat and then they take kosher wine and then they take bamba and then they take, we bring in the suitcases. That's like our personal, like not for the store. Like I have people coming from Israel, they usually bring us a suitcase. Like I make my orders online and then they deliver. So Baruch Hashem, now we're settled. Like before that, we used to bring everything in our suitcases. Now we just, whatever we can find there, we buy there. And we bring a container from Israel with all the dry food. So like everything for the Makolet. So I usually bring stuff for the house. So we're kind of settled, Baruch Hashem. We're not starving in Africa. It's okay.
I mean, they have money for roads, but they don't have money for running water.
No, the thing is, it's a good question. I just don't know. I don't know why the electricity is not functioning normally. I don't know why everything is. It's stuff that I can't answer. I never find an answer yet. Maybe one day. I don't know.
You have to have security.
We have security in the Chabad house. Baruch Hashem, every time I speak to girls that come on Shluchos by us, they're really like, okay, the parents call me, is it safe? But I feel so safe, Baruch Hashem, in Nigeria. It's funny to say, but like I'm more scared when I go to Paris in the subway than in France. And my daughter is like in the subway today. She was like, "Mommy, there's some weird people." I'm like, "Relax, everyone. It's okay." No, I heard it's crazy.
Is there any anti-Semitism?
So, Baruch Hashem, no. Baruch Hashem. You still have to be careful. You still have to be careful.
They're not
You know?
intellectual enough to know, like,
Maybe.
they're not exposed.
No, you know what? So it's funny because like the Nigerians, they're very big believers, and the Christians, the Catholics, I don't know, like when they go to the church, they learn about the chosen nation. They learn about the Bible. They learn about all this. So when they meet you and they see you with the kippah and whatever, like my husband and my kids, they're like, "Are you the Jewish holy nation?" You know, they know, and they're like, "Wow, I've never met one before. Can you bless me?" One time, my husband, we traveled back with a Sefer Torah. And they're like, "Wow, that's the Holy Bible. Can I pray? Can you pray? Can you bless me?" And so my husband gives them blessings. May you be happy. May you have good health. And they're like closing their eyes and doing like that. And it's amazing. We should all be believers like that. It's like interesting also in Nigeria, there is like the lost tribes, you know, like people that believe they're Jewish. So they are not recognized as Jewish by the Rabbanim and whatever, but they are so believers. I told my husband all the time that if we were all like that, Mashiach would have been here like long time ago already. But it's so interesting, and we usually meet them, you know, sometimes. We don't have them in our programs because you can't really sort, like who is really not, you know. But like we are in touch with them. Sometimes we go visit them. We bring them stuff for Pesach and Hanukkah. Like we're in touch for the culture, you know, side of tribe. It's like people that believe they're Jewish. They practice Judaism. Like, you know, they're not really like people that really want to convert. They go to Israel. They go to different countries, South Africa. It's kind of, but not really. They don't really have a community settled. Like,
Moshe Peres from Boston, he lives in Yerushalayim, and he has a program for Noah, a really good one, and he even has a Sunday school for the kids.
mm-hmm.
So maybe some of these kids might want to join. I mean, it costs, but maybe he will do it cheap because I don't know how much it is, but
Yeah, I don't
take
know.
it.
Yeah. I have no idea. I don't know.
It's called, I think it's called United Noah.
Okay, interesting. I'll look that up.
I ask about, I think one of the biggest questions that people have in regards to shluchos is how do you keep yourself strong? How do you stay inspired? And
I come to the Kinus. So yeah, Baruch Hashem, that I'm lucky, Baruch Hashem, that I'm lucky enough to be able to come every year until now, Baruch Hashem, and I take so much strength from it. But I also try like to study. Also, something that I started now is like when my community started to reduce, kind of, I was like, I'm gonna start doing one-on-one, and it's amazing. Like, one lady told me, I would love, like, I heard about Tanya, I would love to learn. I'm like, when do you want to learn? Thursday, I'm coming to you, no problem. And then I started like a chavruta with her, and it's amazing because I'm also like sitting down, learning, preparing for the class, and then the one-on-one connection is amazing. So I gained so much from it also. Now I study with another lady with Shara Bitachon. So I'm happy because it's like, you know, like you can do things like that fills you up also. And also I like I try to connect with other shluchos online, learning with them, or small short Farbrengens between, like, let's say the African shluchos. So now, Baruch Hashem, we moved in 2013, I was saying. So Baruch Hashem, after that, there was shluchim in Ghana, and in Ethiopia, and Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Angola. So all over the Central Africa.
How many shluchim are size for, like, let's say Morocco and South Africa?
So Morocco, Tunisia. So the shlucha of Tunisia, I don't know if you heard, she passed away yesterday, but Diana I met. So and we should take, like, I'm thinking, like, when she moved was probably very hard, like we can complain, okay? But like North.
I mean, you don't have to complain, but it's not like.
No. I don't worry. I'm complaining sometimes. It's good.
You don't care. Like,
you know, people are like, "Oh, you're so lucky. You have so much help in your house." And I'm like, "Yes, I'm so lucky, but you have to repeat 10 times, and you have to have one lady for 6 hours for doing something that another lady would take 1 hour. You know, like I can complain, it's okay, but I'm saying, Baruch Hashem, I'm very lucky. We have help. But yeah, so there is the North Africa, the Central Africa, I think like 11. So the first one was Rabbi Bentolila from Congo. He moved there 35 years ago, I think. And that's the head shliach of Central Africa. That's the one that sent us in Nigeria. And then we have Ghana. Well,
Where's Debbie?
Debbie, she's in Ivory Coast.
And where?
Ivory Coast, Côte d'Ivoire.
Ivory
And
Coast.
that-
Ivory Coast, it's not so far from us in the coast. Yeah. So like if you see the African, so Nigeria is here, and then Ivory Coast is close by, more in the coast, and then there's Ghana between us. So a 6 hours flight. We don't have a direct flight, but that would be a 6 hour flight. Yeah. Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's like
direct.
Africa has that lump on the side.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
She's
Nigeria is really like
in
exactly.
that lump.
Exactly.
That's the country she's talking about.
Yeah.
It's not Africa, it's like the tip, the
Yeah,
bottom.
yeah. Like South Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, when people tell me, oh, I'm your neighbor, I'm like, where do you live? In South Africa. I'm like,
A lot of people are French in Central Africa.
Or Israeli.
most of them, you mean, are they French?
I'm asking.
Yeah, so it's funny. Yeah, it's funny enough that I guess we're the crazy one. I don't know. But Alti Majeski, she's in Ghana. Majeski is from Granite, but she's French. She's a person from France. Then there's Debbie. She's not really French because she grew up in Congo. She went to Montreal for school. Her mother is Italian. She grew up a little bit in Italy too, and she moved to America. So she's French speaking, but yeah. My husband from France also, Uzan. My father-in-law is the director of Batsheva in France, the SEM, and yes, Baruch Hashem. So you know, like something that I would want to pass on that, you know, yeah, you can be in Nigeria and doing your shlichus, but you can also be in Granite and doing an amazing shlichus, a mission that when God created each one of us with a special mission, and I'm sure that each one of you here has a special mission, and it's so special. And I'm sure you have your day-to-day life. You go to work, you go to learn. I don't know what each one of you does, but sometimes you're sitting in the subway and you, just by smiling at someone, doesn't have to be Jewish, not Jewish, but smiling at someone, saying hello, goodbye, speaking about lighting Shabbos candles, whatever, is a beautiful, amazing shlichus. And you should always bring light around yourself and share light around, you know, and then give strength to also the shluchos when we come to prayer nights and we see you guys. We're like, it gives us strength. Seeing amazing women learning Hasidus every day like that, it's beautiful. And I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. Should I remove the mic? I hope it was not
And
like.
then we'll do two versions. We have a traditional limit Chassidus, so we take a picture of our speaker.
Okay.
You're okay with that?
Yeah, I mean, do I have a choice?
If you want to just turn around.
Oh, okay, like that. All right.
Wait, Haya
Well,
My new baby. It's her first limit Chassidus.
should I?
That's exciting. Are you photo ready?
Oh, yes.
Wow.
1, 2, 3. Yay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, she's French, so.
I went to a lot of people I talked to are from Nigeria.
Yeah.
I asked what the first person like, oh, you think this is so good, and they're like,
Yeah. So there is another country called Niger,
right.
which is French speaking. So people are like, oh, how is it in Niger? Like French people think I live in Niger. And I tell them, no, it's different. They don't get that it's two different countries. But
Because they're one of the great groups.
okay.
You want to come pick her up?
Yeah.
What's
her name?
Haya Uzan. But anyway, so, I'm not really that shitty. I'm just, let me show you.
How good. You speak really well. How you sound.
Oh, good catch, thank you.
Yeah.
Last month, somebody was like, we were just sitting in the office.
So, and I'm gonna give you regards to my brother.
I mentioned was
He didn't send them.
Algeria.
Levi Herzl. Levi Herzl. Ah. You see it?
What? And then she was like, she thought she was saying Nigeria. She thought I was saying Nigeria. But also it's a crazy question to ask.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my relationship with Nigeria.
What's your name?
After, but my mother's name is
I haven't started it yet, but I'm not sure if you're coming out, but if you want to
Hello, Haya, how are you?
you can stay and sit and enjoy.
They called me, I don't know, my trainer called me, she landed and I gave her my girls, so I guess she wants to give me back my girls. I'm not gonna abuse. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. You have a gift from us, the birthdays from a magnet. So when you're standing by the fridge,
It's funny because you can know them by heart, but every morning I take my card and I go out. So now it's amazing.
it's a magnet.
My kids are gonna be so excited. They're gonna be like, "Oh my god, that's the best gift for you."
How old is she?
5 weeks. It's my first event back.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I'm about to teach her after I introduce you. So
Okay.
okay, guys, are we ready for round two? Yeah. We're having our own personal Kinus Hashluchos over here, the great shluchos. So tonight, as I mentioned earlier, for anyone who may have not been here, we are also celebrating the learning of Rambam, as this week is a big time to have a Siyama Rambam. So we want to thank everybody who joined our Siyama Rambam on Sunday, and we want to encourage everyone to start, whether you're starting a new track of Sefer Mitzvahs, you're starting a new track of 1 parak or 3 prakim. It was the Rebbe's very strong encouragement for all of us to learn Rambam in whichever track work makes sense for us. So if you'd like to learn more about it, there's also a raffle that is happening on a dime of the Rebbe for anyone who catches up from yesterday's learning and today's learning, and just sign up and you're able to enter a raffle.
How long do you have to learn for?
That is a great question.
A month?
Yud Aleph Nisan? Till Yud Aleph Nisan, if I understood correctly. So, Baruch Hashem. And with that, tonight we have the great shluchos of having Mrs. Batsheva Cohen. She is one of the most famous shluchos. I think everybody makes a pit stop at Chevron and meets you, and I'm sure everyone has seen you, but not necessarily you remember everybody. I actually spent Shabbos with you guys, the Shabbos I got engaged. So it was a very meaningful Shabbos to be there and daven by the Aves and the Imais, and have amazing memories. I always wanted to live in Chevron, and the Rebbe sent me on shluchos here. So in my heart, I'm with you there. And now I'll pass the microphone if you want to just flip it on your, yeah. I think the other, yeah.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. I recognize some of the faces that have been to me. Have you ever been? Like you've been, and you've been to Chevron? Okay. So I can see some of the faces here that have been to my house. You've also been? Okay. Yeah, I remember for sure. Okay. I want to start with a story that happened to me a bunch of years ago. And I want to just describe a little bit of what does it mean to live in Chevron. A bunch of years ago, it's I think Chol Sukkos, and I'm driving, and I drive very, very fast. Just don't tell my husband. I drive really fast, and all of a sudden, and it's Chol and Ulam Yitzchak, the Yitzchak Hall is open, which means tens of thousands of Jews are coming that day to Marsa Machpelah because it's open. It's a big deal. That's the actual opening of Gan Eden to Marsa Machpelah. So a lot of people like to come. And all of a sudden, and it's a Thursday, and every Thursday I give out neshek. So all of a sudden I see a female policeman, and I stop by her like, woo, like you could hear the car And I say to her, "Hi, can I give you neshek?" And she's like, she has a little pistol, so she catches her pistol and she says, "What?" She said, "Can I give you neshek?" She said, "Nerot Shabbat Kodesh." So she says to me, "At tzricha lizaher." You have to be careful with what you say. And with that, it was funny. But every Thursday, Baruch Hashem, I go to an army base. There were years I went to a few army bases, and I give out Shabbos candles. So I always say that we're very, very lucky, and I don't know how no one else got Chevron before we got to get it, and before we got to actually live in it. But the story actually began in 2001 when the second intifada broke out, and we were doing 1 year shluchos in downtown Chicago. And that year, the second intifada broke out. Intifada is the riots of the Arabs. And thank you. And my husband, who was 3 years in combat unit, he called his officer who's in charge of recruiting all the reserve duty soldiers, and he said to her, "Listen, one phone call, and please call me. I'm on the first plane." He's still waiting for that phone call. Anyway, so he didn't get that phone call, but we started like hearing from our neighbors, from our cousins, for everyone was being drafted. And as an Israeli, when you're stuck in Chutz La'aretz and you hear that there's a war going on, that the IDF is going into Gaza, you feel very torn. And we decided that we're leaving downtown Chicago, and we knew that we're going to continue doing shluchos someplace, but we knew that it has to be in Eretz Yisrael. So Baruch Hashem, I got an offer, like not me, actually, my husband got an offer. He gets a phone call from a friend of his, Baruch Marzel, and he says to him, "Listen, you're coming back. Why don't you come back to Chevron? You have a record of 3 years as a combat soldier. There are thousands of soldiers at any random time. There's 2,500 soldiers around. Why not come and work with them?" So he says, "Well, there's two issues. First thing is that there's no empty space. And the second thing is that my wife will never agree." So he says, "Listen, with your wife, I can't deal. This is your department, but I can help you find a place." So we came back after a few months, and we're going back and forth, 1 week by my parents, 1 week by his parents. And after 3 weeks, we get a phone call. Our friend calls my husband, and he says to him, "Listen, good news. I hope your wife likes it. You have a place in Chevron." He comes to me and he says, "I have good news. I hope you're going to like it. We do have a place in Chevron." And I'm like, I'm stuck, because he nudged and nudged and nudged. And like when a wife wants to rub off her husband, she just says yes, and then he stops nudging. And I already committed, and I said yes. So he says we have a place, and a few weeks later, we moved from downtown Chicago to downtown Chevron. So that's where our history begins 23 years ago. No, we had 3 kids at the time. Yossi was a baby at the time.
After you came back from Chicago
Rafting.
with your nanny.
Um,
You don't remember.
no, I don't.
Were you together with a bunch of kids?
Yeah.
Wait, how did you get
My husband was roaming the streets of Chevron since he was 15, and he always had this craving of living in Chevron. And yeah, there is what to love about it. And we were in Chicago, and we decided that we felt torn, especially when the Intifada broke out, and we knew that we want to go back and do shluchos someplace. And the place, my husband was chalishing to go to Chevron, and I guess HaKadosh Baruch Hu heard his what?
There were no very shluchim in Chevron?
There were shluchim in Kiryat Arba, and the shlich in Kiryat Arba used to go every once in a while. He used to come down to Chevron, do something small for the soldiers. But we decided. I remember one time we had a Lubavitch family that came to us, and he said, "How many Lubavitchers live here?" So I said to him, "Well, you're looking at them right now." So we feel that it's a big shluchos to actually live in Chevron and do the Rebbe's work there. And I remember when we came 23 years ago, I was looking around and I said, wait a second, everyone around us is we don't have to teach Taras HaMishpacha, we don't have to kosher kitchens, we don't have to put mezuzahs. What do we have to do here? And if you look around you, there are thousands of soldiers around. There are tourists. There are so many holy Chabad sites. I said, okay. So the first thing we did, like a lot of shluchim do, is we looked for the right spot to put our big giant menorah. Okay, so we decided to put our menorah on the hilltop that's overlooking our house, and that hilltop is called Abu Snena in the Arabic name. But unfortunately, in 2001, just a few months before we came, there was a sniper, an Arab sniper that sat on the hilltop, and he shot a baby by the name of Shalhevet. Shalhevet means flame. So we decided that from the same place where they tried to distinguish the flame, we're going to light the light again of Hanukkah candles.
There's a song. Sadia's.
Yeah.
Her oldest is Shalhevet.
Aha.
Yeah.
Nice. So anyway, so that was our beginning. And when we thought of, okay, what do we do? So I remember we were looking to see what the Rebbe wrote about Chevron. What was his approach? And Danny, my husband, said that almost every single time that the Rebbe spoke about Eretz Yisrael, he was speaking about it with tears in his eyes. And a third of the sichas that the Rebbe was speaking about Eretz Yisrael was about Chevron. And all the Rebbeim all over the years had a very strong feeling towards Chevron. And so when I say that it's a big schus to live in Chevron, I actually mean it, because, you know, you're living in the, 2 minutes walk from Asa Machpelah. So I just want to tell you a few terms that we use in our house. You know, when a shlucha says that she cooks for an army, so I literally cook for an army. Every Shabbos day, it used to be Friday night, every Shabbos day right now, we moved it to the Shabbos day meal. We have, I don't know how many soldiers we could have, between 5 soldiers to 50 soldiers. This past Shabbos, just before we came here, we had between 40 to 50 people. Half of them were wearing green. Even the beret was green. The color of the plates and the napkins changes according to the combat soldiers that are stationed at the time. Right now we have Nachal Brigade that have the green beret. Who knows what's the color of Givati?
Brown?
Purple.
Oh.
What's the color of the paratroops?
Oh, I should know this. Red? Burgundy?
Yes. What's
My brother was
Okay.
in the army and my brother was Rastabad for 2 years. So.
Okay. So we host the soldiers. We never ever know how many we'll have, because it's not up to them. It's not like backpackers that can decide, oh, I want to go to the Chabad house for a meal. You need to get permission from your commander. If you come to the Chabad house for a meal, it's on the cheshbon of your sleeping hours, of talking on the phone, unfortunately, of everything that you do in those resting hours is also, if you decide to come for the meal in the Chabad house, so you take it into cheshbon that, oh, I'm going to have to sleep a little bit less. So when we say that I literally cook for an army, I mean it. We don't really know how many. And Chevron, one of the translations of Chevron is the word chibur, connect. So we started having lately a whole combination. If Chevron comes from the word chibur, then we like to have, this past Shabbos, we had half of the people that were sitting there were wearing green. The other half were yeshiva bachrim that are wearing a black hat. And you see it. You can see tourists, and you can see Israelis. You can see soldiers. You can see civilians, and everyone sits together. I always say, maybe we could get a heter to take a video or just pictures, just to see how Am Yisrael could get together and sit at the same table. And we also say that if you don't say L'chaim and Chevron, you're suspected as a Muslim. If you don't have a L'chaim in Chevron, you're suspected as a Muslim.
Okay, can I tell you a really quick story about that? My grandfather went to Israel right after Russia in 1930. And he sold fish for a living. He would buy fish from an Arab and then he would sell it in the shuk. And one day the Arab says, come in. The wife opened the door. She wasn't wearing her hijab. You come in, they drink wine, and afterwards the Arab pulls out a knife and he goes, my grandmother goes, what do you want? He goes, I have to kill you. You saw me without a hijab and you drank wine with me. So that's illegal. So my grandmother has to think really, really fast. He goes, if you kill me, I'm going to tell everyone that you drank wine with me.
Okay. It's a few years ago. I was on my way to give a class in one of the army bases, and it doesn't happen a lot, but it happened to be that I was stoned on the way. So I always say that I was stoned on the way, but not the Californian style. So
You're on a high, but not that kind.
yes. But how the story ended actually at the end is that I got stoned and everything, the whole car is filled with pieces of glass, and I'm coming to the army base and there's a woman officer that stands at the gate of the army and she's like, are you okay? Is everything okay? Because it broke the front window and the stone just landed between my seat and the seat next to me. Thank God there was no one else besides me in the car, so no one was hurt. But she said, are you okay? So I said, yeah, can I just come in? She says, no, I need to see that you're walking straight. I come out, all the pieces of the glass fall. And then after she feels that I'm fine, she lets me go. And then I come to base to realize that the commander forgot that I'm supposed to give a class. So like I said, when you work with soldiers, you don't know how many will show up. You don't know if necessarily the class that you're preparing is actually going to happen or if it's not going to happen. But it's very interesting because soldiers are a sample of the entire Jewish nation. You know, we can have at the Shabbos table a lone soldier from England and a lone soldier from South Africa and a soldier from Australia, and the rest of the soldiers are from all over the country. And everyone sits together, doesn't matter which background you come from, and everyone is together. I don't think that there's anything else in Israel that people from such different backgrounds sit at the same table and enjoy the same food and sing the same songs. And one of the things that it took us time, I remember, to realize is that we're sitting at the Shabbos table. And a lot of these soldiers, it's the first time that they hear Kiddush, first time that they sit at a Shabbos table, the first time that they actually feel the meaning of it. And I remember that a few years ago, my husband went to pay a shiva call by one of the soldiers that used to serve in Chevron. And after they finished in Chevron, the IDF started a military act down in Gaza. And unfortunately, that soldier was killed. So my husband decided to go and pay a shiva call. And they come there and they see that, you know, it's Sfardim. So when the Sfardim finish sitting Shiva, they do a huge big meal. So they come to the place of the Shiva, and as they park in the parking lot, they see a big semi-trailer truck comes in, and they start pulling out trays and trays of food, and they're saying, oh my goodness, it's the end of the Shiva. So they come in, and they look like my husband and a friend, they look lost. So someone with a ripped shirt comes to them and says, hello, can I help you? So he said, well, we wanted to pay a Shiva call, but we don't know who to turn to, and we see that it's the end of the Shiva, so we're sorry. So he says, well, who are you? What's your name? So he says, I'm Danny Cohen from Chabad of Chevron. This is my friend. And he says, wait a second, you're you're from Chabad of Chevron? He runs to the other side of the Shiva and he says, come. He calls his wife. They sit down again at the Shiva chairs and he says, listen, our son, we're a traditional family. We do Kiddush, but after the Kiddush, all the kids, this one goes to watch TV, this one goes out with friends. And our son that was just killed, that when he came back from Chevron, he said to us, listen, you remember the Chabad house that I told you that I go every single Shabbos to eat when I'm there? I want to do the same thing. I want to sit like they sit in the Shabbos table. I want us to sing songs together. I want us to share experiences of during the week. And sometimes you don't know when you just have soldiers sitting by your table, you don't know what impact it does. Actually, a different Shiva call, it's like, I'm sorry I'm saying Shiva stories, but last week my husband went to pay a Shiva call by a friend of ours. Anyway, that friend became a Baal Tshuva, and everyone that came to pay a Shiva call was obviously not from, because they all came to pay a Shiva call for the extended family. And he sits, my husband started speaking to one of the ladies that came there, and he said, he introduced himself. He says, I'm from Chevron. She says, oh, you're from Chevron? My daughter served in Chevron, and she said that there was one lady that came to the base and always took care of them. So he smiles and he says, maybe you're talking about my wife, Batsheva. Says, let me call my daughter and ask her. She calls her and she says, yeah, of course, we're talking about Bachi. So she says, no, but he's talking about Batsheva. Happened to be that it doesn't matter how many times I introduce myself as Batsheva, they always switch my name to Bachi. And yeah.
And if anyone here calls her that, she won't talk to you.
No, I'm fine, but I don't know how it always transforms that everyone knows Bachi, but it's just interesting, a few years later that she remembers her daughter's service in Chevron. I remember that when people always ask us, how is it to raise children in Chevron? Chevron is considered, unfortunately, like if you would say to someone 200 years ago, where are you from? And you would say Chevron, people would say, wow, amazing, what a holy place. Today, if you say to someone that you live in Chevron, even to an average Israeli, you can see right away his reaction and you can understand what kind of education he got. If you say, yeah, and we always like to say it like in a very casual way to people that we talk to. If we sit at a wedding someplace in Israel, where are you from? So we say, oh, we're from Chevron. And you can see it's either like, wow, this is great, go for it. Or you could see like, oh, okay, what are you doing there? Exactly. So you see right away what the person thinks about it. And so people always ask us, so how is it to raise your kids in Chevron? Because Chevron is considered crazy. But I always say, I remember I once spoke in a Chabad house in Toronto, and there was a big group of Israelis living in Toronto, and they say, I don't know, you describe Chevron as if it's La La Land. So I always say that this is my feeling. Today, a shlucha asked me on the bus, she says, so is it safe for me if I want to come for a Shabbos? So I tell her, listen, first of all, you're asking the wrong person, because I think that Chevron is the safest, safer than Kranite, safer than a lot of other places. In Chevron, when you have a 3-year-old, the 3-year-old is out on the streets from a very early age, and it's great, and no one feels it. It's like, it's funny because when the kids were young, I'm a nervous wreck. The second I got to Chevron, everything is great. And so when people say, how do you do this? How do you raise your kids in Chevron? So when the kids were actually young, my husband was once in California, and before he came back, he had to buy presents for the kids. Otherwise, I won't let him step in the house. So he goes to Costco, and he bought a few toy guns. We have 5 boys, and then came the one and only, the one girl. So he bought a few toy guns, and there's a lady behind him in the line, and she says, "Sir, do you mind if I ask you something without getting you insulted?" Like very nice Californian lady says, "Why would you want to expose your kids to such horrible toys?" So he says to her, "Well, ma'am, the place where I come from, I'd rather let them play with that and not with the real stuff." So she says, "Okay, I'm not going to ask anything else." so, so to raise kids in Chevron is a challenge. I remember one time, by the way, I say about drinking l'chaim, we have a problem because most of our guests are soldiers, and soldiers are not allowed to drink. But I think it was 10 years ago, we had a group of Golani soldiers. Golani, what's the beret? What color beret is Golani? Okay, you have what to find that on Google, by Rabbi Google. Anyway, so Golani soldiers are known to be very, very wild. So at some point they realized where we have the stash of all the alcohol. And one of the soldiers, as he was walking out of, our house is a few levels, like every level is a different function. So he found where we're, like every time my husband used to come with a hot cup filled with some, I don't know what, whiskey or mashke or whatever. And he used to drink a little bit and be happy. So they realized that he's coming downstairs, taking some stash and coming back to the meal, but he can't share it with them. So one of them, I guess, took one and he went back to base and they did a whole party and they were punished. But the story ends that one Friday I'm standing in the kitchen as always and cooking for an army. And I hear a knock on the door and I open the door and I say, "Hello." He says, "I see a boy and a girl. Both don't look from." And he says, "Do you remember me?" So I said, "Of course, just remind me your first and last name." Anyway, so he says, "Listen, I was a soldier about 4 years ago. I was a soldier here, and I lent something from you, and I went to the Far East. That was afterwards in Australia, but I promised myself that I'm always going to give it back to you. I have to give you something back." Right. He opens his jacket, takes out a duty-free bag, and takes out a Jack Daniels. He said, "I found out where you hide your alcohol, and I took it. But I always had guilt feelings. I always said, I have to give it back. It took me 4 years, but here it is, back by you." So maybe we don't say l'chaim with them, but they certainly find out where the good stuff is, and they use it. I remember that Simchas Torah, Lubavitchers, what do? They drink a lot. They drink a lot to fill buckets of Simcha for the whole year. So one time we were dancing in Marasa Machpelah, and we needed to get some mashke back home. So my husband sent one of my kids to go home and bring a bottle. And unfortunately, Marasa Machpelah till this day is considered a Muslim site, and Muslim don't drink. So my husband sent my kid, and he said, "Just bring back a bottle." He comes back, and he says, and my husband sees there's no bottle. He says to him, "Shai, I sent you home to get a bottle. Where is it?" So he says, "What do you want, Abba? Of course, I needed to." He opens his jacket and he says, "I couldn't let the soldiers see that," and he puts it on the table, and we had mashke for the rest of the dancing. So, like I said, if you don't say l'chaim, you're considered as a Muslim, but kids always find a way to do that. I just, about a month ago, my oldest son was already 8 years in the army, switched his job. He's now a high officer in the army. And they invited me, my husband, and we came with grandchildren that are his kids. And we came to his ceremony. His wife couldn't come. She had a PTA. So we went instead to this ceremony. And they said, can you say a few words, something about your son? So I said, listen, our son that today is a high officer, grew up in Chevron. And when he was drafted to the army, before they give soldiers the guns, they want to know how much do they know about shooting, about guns. So my son was sitting there, just started the army 2 weeks before that, and they're starting to ask them questions about the gun, and every question they ask them, my son picks up his hand and answers the question. Then there's another question, my son picks up his hand, says again. After a few questions, the teacher asked them, wait a second, where are you from? So he says, well, I grew up in Chevron. So he says, okay, put down the hand. Now I get where you got it from. So it was part of, like, growing up. I always say that in Florida, every other person has a pool in his backyard. In Chevron, every other neighbor has a little pistol by his side. And I remember when the kids were young and they came for the meal, one time they always used to take all their guns. And by the way, every Chabad house has a corner, right, where people put their coats and scarves. We have a designated corner where our guests put their guns and helmets. So not coats, but guns and helmets. So I remember that one time the commander put all their ammunition and their guns and helmets, whatever, in one of the kids' bedrooms. And then he came to me, he said, do you mind giving me a key to the room? So I said, you don't have to have a key. I'll just tell the kids not to go into their bedroom. And so he said to me, ma'am, you don't really want your kids to play with live grenades, do you? So you did. No, they were not playing with that. But I'm saying that it's like it was part of life. Like every other person in Florida has a pool. So by us, my husband, the neighbors, everyone is part of the first response team. Everyone has that. But we don't live, I mean, I told you a lot of gun stories, a lot of soldier stories, but people always get nervous. Like, how is it? Are you like ducking under the bullets?
I did.
You're ducking? What, you came with Maren Rhodes?
No. After the same place at Kever Menucha Rachel. Robinson.
Now there's actually 3 families living there.
Yeah.
They put trailers.
There used to be
right.
Ephraim.
Ephraim Rosenstein? Yeah. So yeah, now there's families living next to Tzion Menucha Rachel, and they're starting a new neighborhood. Yeah. So we're not. I always say that for fundraising, it's very good to say that we're ducking under bullets, but we don't do that. we really don't do that, and I think that Chevron is, to raise your kids when you're close to Marasa Machpelah. When, I had 5 boys, 3 of my boys' bris milas were inside Marasa Machpelah. And when you do a bris milah, you say, Lehachniso bivrito shel Avraham Avinu. And you're actually doing it by Avram Avinu at his resting place in Marasa Machpelah. What else can you do? Or when people, well, by Chabad, we don't read Megillat Ruth on Shavuos, but by other people they do. They actually do it by Kever Yishai and Ruth. You get to do so many things in the actual place and to raise your kids in such a holy place that every place that you step on, either Avraham Avinu stepped on or King David stepped on, and you're all surrounded with holy people and holy places. I mean, so we don't have backyards, we don't have pools, we don't have beautiful, magnificent Chabad houses. I remember that a few years ago, we had a bus of shluchim from different places in America that they came for a visit. And as they walk down, and my husband is about to give an explanation and start talking to them, the mask starts blurring. It always happens. And as he's talking, the mask, like you have the mask on one side, and my husband is trying to give a few words, to say a few things. And one of the people from the communities, he turns to my husband and he asks him in front of everyone else, he says, Rabbi, may I ask you something without getting you insulted? So he says, well, gesundheit, hey, I mean, yeah, try. He says, listen, you know, I live in a very beautiful place in my hometown in America. My Chabad house is gorgeous. We've been to beautiful, we go according to the Chabad routes from one Chabad house to the other. We've been Chabad house in Venice. We've been Chabad house in South America, beautiful places. And then he's pointing at the mosque and he says, you must have been doing something very wrong to be sent here.
Oh my God.
So my husband laughed and he said, we weren't sent here, we chose it, and we love it here. And it's a beautiful, we feel it's a zchus. You're davening and you're saying by Avram Avinu. And we always say that the Avat and the Imahot, the fathers and the mothers, are not sleeping there permanently. They're sleeping there until Mashiach comes. And bidyuk, and we're there to wake them up the second Mashiach shows up. So I hope that before I even go back home, they're going to have to call us because the Kinus is going to be canceled and everyone is going to be called and everyone is going to greet Mashiach together. And we have a beautiful picture hanging up in our living room, and it's a Baruch Nachshon picture. And the picture is showing the Rebbe awakening up the fathers and the mother and saying, Kumu Yeshene Chevron, and he's taking everyone to the third Beis HaMikdash. So we always have a dream that picture is going to become reality, and everyone is going to be joining us, and we won't have to get phone calls from America. Hi, my niece is going into surgery. Can you please daven for her? Hi, my nephew needs a refuah shalema. Can you please daven for her? So we always pray, we always daven that those days will come fast, and we won't have to use our guns or our pistols. And Be'ezer Hashem, everyone is going to feel like 200 years ago that you're coming to Chevron, you're coming to the fathers, to the mothers, to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, to the mothers that are there, and it's the safest place, and it's the place where all your davenings come from 770, from Spain, from Thailand, from every place, they all come there, and from there it's last stop. So our Chabad house may be the first stop, Chabad of Thailand may be the last stop, but everyone's going to come and join us together in Chevron to hopefully greet Mashiach very, very soon.
Amen. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
From originally. Yeah, sure.
So
She's an American.
in our group,
Yeah.
we usually take a picture with our speaker. Is it okay if we take a picture together?
Okay.
Turn around this way.
Is she sleeping?
Oh, yes. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yay, thank you.